Hello, everyone, and welcome to this event in partnership with Mons and Mary University. My name is Stefania, and I will be moderating this webinar on behalf of Docsity. Thank you for being a part of this event, and without further ado, let's get started with our video.
Thank you, Stefania. Go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second.
This is the life that prepares you to take the world by storm. Strong body, brave heart, curious soul. Welcome to the Mount. Work up a sweat in cardio dance, boot camp, cycling, or Zumba, group classes, and club sports. Get centered with yoga and meditation. Everything and anything to strengthen your mind and body. Head out and climb to the Hollywood sign. Camp in Catalina. Try your hand at river rafting. There's a monthly farmers market, wellness fair, and Love Your Body Week. Through our wellness programs, you'll learn to eat better, sleep better, and manage stress better. And you'll learn something else. Nothing can stop you.
Okay, so I will take the word. So for who doesn't know it, hello everyone, and welcome to this event in partnership with Mons and Mary University. My name is Stefania, and I will be moderating this webinar on behalf of Docsity. So now that our first participants have joined us, I give you a warm welcome to all of you. We're just going to wait a few minutes before we dive into our session to ensure that everyone has a chance to connect. So in the meantime, don't hesitate to say hi or to introduce yourself in the chat. You can find it here down on Zoom, and we'd love to get to know you better. Furthermore, we are curious to learn where are you joining us from, so please take a moment to share your location in the chat. And thank you for being here. We will start shortly. Today, we will delve into the diverse academic programs Mons and Mary offers, as well as the essential admission criteria. Thank you for being here today, and a special thanks to our panelists. I am pleased to introduce Albert Ramos, who currently holds the position of Director of Graduate Admissions at Mons and Mary University. We got a Q&A session lined up after the presentation. This is your chance to ask your questions to Albert. So don't be shy, go ahead and type your questions and curiosity in the Q&A box. We will be thrilled to answer them at the end of the presentation. And if you are interested in receive the certificate of attendance issued by Docsity, stay tuned because we will give you more information just after this session. So now welcome again to who join us now. I think that now we can start. So Albert, the floor is yours. The mic, Albert.
There we go. I thought I was unmuted. Thank you very much, Stefania. As Stefania mentioned, my name is Albert Ramos. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions at Mount St. Mary's University. I've been here for 8 years now. And I've had the pleasure of admitting students, international students, and of course, domestic students into our graduate programs. Mount St. Mary's University has 3 different divisions. We have the undergraduate division, we have another undergraduate division for working professionals, and we have the graduate division, which in total has 12 different graduate programs. And I'll be going over some of the programs here, but more importantly, I'll be talking about the application requirements and what it takes to become a competitive applicant, to our school. And not just to our school, but to all the schools that you may be interested in applying to. So hopefully I can share some advice and tips that you could use when applying to other schools as well, okay? That said, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And by all means, feel free to write your questions as they go, okay? Give me 1 second here. Let me share my PowerPoint. In fact, what I'm going to do is okay, there we go. All right, so this is a quick overview of the topics I would like to discuss today. I'm going to go over them very, very quickly because, believe it or not, we have actually changed our application requirements as of today. Our application requirements on our website should be updated by tomorrow afternoon, if not today already. So our application requirements are changing. We've made it more accessible. We have actually reduced the number of application requirements for our programs. So it should make it a lot easier for you to apply, okay? All of the programs, I'm happy to say, have changed to one extent or another the application requirements, with the exception of our PsyD and our DPT program. DPT being the doctor in physical therapy, and our PsyD being the doctor in clinical psychology. Okay, just because those two programs are accredited and they have to fulfill certain requirements because of the accreditation, we couldn't change the application requirements for those two programs. But for our master's level programs, I'm happy to say that many of the programs have changed their application requirements to make it easier for you to apply. Okay, that said, let me make this bigger here. Okay, so as I mentioned, the very first thing that applicants need to submit is the application itself. The application is very straightforward. It shouldn't take more than 35 minutes to complete. Okay. I do want to caveat though that international students, have additional paperwork that they have to complete, with their government and with the U.S. government. So we always stress international applicants to apply by April 1st at the very latest for entry to the fall semester. Okay. And that's where most of our international students apply to, specifically to the fall term, just because it also hosts our biggest class. Okay, so again, April 1st would be the ideal date by which we would want you to complete your application. Okay, the priority deadline is actually March 1st, but if you need more time, you could take up until April 1st to complete your application. But if you can, do complete it by March 1st. Okay. After March 1st, you're welcome to continue working on your application and submit it. In fact, you're welcome to complete your application up until the semester starts. But as an international student, I would never recommend that, because unless you're already in the United States and you're just seeking to transfer from one university here in the US to another, then it might be possible. But if you're currently in another country and you will need to get a student F1 visa for the first time, you definitely want to apply, as early as you can to allow for those paperwork to take place and be completed. Okay. Also, we do have a fee waiver that we would like to share with all of you. If you do decide to apply, you're welcome to submit the following waiver code, and that is Docsity. Okay, so I'll put that in the chat here, all in caps. If you enter that waiver code, it will waive the $50 application fee. Okay, so make sure to enter that. If you forget it or whatnot, you could always email me. I'll be more than happy to give it to you again, and I'm going to write my email address here as well on the chat. Okay, and again, the application itself takes only 35 minutes. Okay, I will tell you that the next thing, as you go through the application, the first thing that it will ask you is to upload your essay. Now, you're welcome to upload your essay as part of the application, or you could always submit it to us via email. So you could continue with the application, skip this part, and submit the application itself, and then you could turn back around and send us your application essay via email. And that email, I'm going to write here. I'm going to write it here on the chat as well. Give me 1 second here. It's graddocs@msmu.edu. Okay, that is the email that you want to send everything and anything you want to include in your application. You want to send it to that email, and our processing team will get those documents and process it and upload it to your application file. Okay, graddocs@msmu.edu. But when it comes to the essay, first and foremost, make sure to address the prompt. The prompt does change depending on the program that you're applying to. So each program has a specific prompt. Okay, but make sure to address it and make sure to follow the format. So if it requests for you to write a 2 to 3 page essay, make sure to write a 2 to 3 page essay. It's not the end of the world if you end up writing 4 pages, but once you start going into the 5th or 6th page, that's when we would probably start reading your essay. Okay, and it might count against you. So try to stick to the format of the actual essay prompt. Okay, and of course, make sure to proofread your essay for grammars, typers, and whatnot. Okay, and we understand that you may be applying to the universities, and that is perfectly okay. In fact, we encourage you to apply to the universities, and you may be, you actually may recycle the same essay and adjust it for the different schools that you may be applying to. And that's perfectly fine. I did it myself. But if you do that, just make sure to change the name of the university to which you're submitting your essay to, okay? It's not the end of the world if you make a mistake. For example, you might be applying to, say, UCLA or New York University. If you're happy to be doing that, just make sure that New York University doesn't appear on the essay that you submit to us. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't look good. And I have to stress that because it always happens every year, no matter how many times I tell students not to do that. It always happens, but make sure it doesn't happen with you. Okay? Okay. Stefania, I believe it's my chat here. I'm going to exit my chat. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm going to proceed. The why. Also, when it comes to the essay, one big tip of advice that we offer students is when it comes to the essay, make sure to take the time to explain to the faculty admission committee as to why you're applying to the specific program and to the specific school that you're applying to. This is where you get brownie points. This is where you get to express and explain to the faculty why it is you want to study under them. And it's also a good time for you to reflect really as to why you're applying to that school as well, okay? Because the entire crux of the admission process is to determine if there is fit between us and your research goals and your professional goals, okay? Sometimes we have students applying to our school, but we're unable to service them because we don't offer the research or we don't have the faculty in place that will make them successful in achieving their goals, okay? So we deny them not because they wouldn't be successful in our courses, right? But just because we feel that they may be better served in other programs at other schools, depending on their research interests. So make sure to explain in the essay why it is that you're applying, for example, to Mount St. Mary's University specifically. You may want to say something to the effect of, I'm applying to Mount St. Mary's University because I want to do research with Dr. Inrig, who has done vast research in the area of AIDS and other diseases in the specific country of Chile, for example, which he has done. So that makes the faculty admission committee understand that not only are you mature for the program, but you actually have investigated what it is you want to do, and you've investigated our faculty and how they can help you achieve those goals. Okay. All right. Next, the addendum. So we do allow students to submit a GPA addendum. There are some applicants that will apply with the GPA below a 3.0. Okay, we do require all applicants to have a 3.0 GPA or higher. If you do not have a GPA above a 3.0, okay, which is a B in the grading system of A through F, so you must have a B average or better. If you do not, we do provide you with the opportunity to explain why you have a GPA below a 3.0, okay? It doesn't have to be a big essay. In fact, we would encourage you to just explain to us what happened in one page. Explain to us what factors contributed to your low performance, and more importantly, also explain to us what you've done or what you will do to improve that, okay? What things have you done or plan to do to ensure that your GPA is above a 3.0 when you become a student at Mount St. Mary's University, okay? We all have rough times. We all have our difficulties in life, right? But more importantly, we want to know what you're doing or what steps you're taking to make sure that doesn't happen again, okay? And again, maybe 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs at the most. Keep it, to a page. Don't go beyond 2 pages for sure, okay? All right, very good. And even though you may be above a 3.0 GPA, you still may want to take the time to write an addendum in the event that your GPA is a 3.1 or even a 3.2, You don't have to, it's not a requirement, but you're welcome to do so if you wish to do so, okay? Resume. We do require a resume for some of our programs. If you want to submit a resume and are not required to submit a resume, you're still welcome to do so to strengthen your application. You're more than welcome to. And students always ask me, Albert, should I put only relevant work experience or relevant research on my resume or CV? And that is up to you. I personally would recommend that you put everything and anything you've done since the age of 18, okay? Make sure to outline all your achievements. make sure to outline all the extracurricular activities that you've been part of, okay? And make sure to of course, outline and display all the research or publications that you've done over the years, if any, okay? It's not the end of the world if you don't have any research publications. That's perfectly fine. But if you do, make sure to put that on your CV or on your resume, okay? What we're trying to gauge with the resume is the level of work experience and also the level of maturity and how your experiences may contribute to the classroom conversation. Okay, so we're trying to get a better sense of who you are as a person outside the academic setting with the resume. All right. So again, feel free to display everything and anything you've done. That is my personal opinion. Don't limit the items that you put on your resume based on the degree that you're trying to pursue. Okay. All right. Letters of recommendation. I'm happy to say that letters of recommendation are no longer required for any of our master's program. Okay. We used to require 2 letters of recommendation for all our programs. That is no longer the case. If you want to submit letters of recommendations, you're more than welcome to. It will only strengthen your application, but your application decision or your admission decision will not be negatively impacted if you do not submit them, because again, they're no longer required. Okay, but if you do want to submit them, I will share with you one tip of advice. Make sure to sit down with the people that you're thinking of asking to write you a letter of recommendation. Believe me, it makes the end of it makes a big difference. Yes, email your recommenders, ask them ask them for a letter of recommendation, but more importantly, take the time to take them out for a cup of coffee or for dinner, depending on how desperate you are, right? But take the time to explain to them what it is that you want to do and how, if you're currently working, how going back to school might help the organization in which you're working in right now, okay? Many recommenders feel much more obligated, or in other words, also tend to remember all the great things that you've done if you take the time to sit down with them, okay? I get many people asking me for letters of recommendation, and I can tell you from experience that I always make more of an effort to write a better letter of recommendation for those individuals who actually take the time to sit down with me and remind me of all the things they've done, either working for me or whatnot. So take the time to meet with people, okay? And no need to take notes, no need to take screenshots, although you are welcome to. I'll make sure to relay this presentation to Estefania so she can forward it to all of you at the end of this presentation, okay? I'm gonna take a quick break to see what's going on in the chat. The question is, should I put information like my picture, my age? Great question, great question. I would say no, okay? Just because it does, I've seen a lot of resumes with a picture, and I've seen other resumes without a picture. And I can tell you that when I see a picture, even though I try to be as objective as possible, it does create some subjectivity, which can be good or bad, right? I would recommend not doing that. It's to prevent that, for whatever reason. I think I'm very good at making sure that I'm objective in my evaluations of everything that I read, but it does affect the way people look at your resume if you put a picture, which may be a good thing or a bad thing, but you won't know, right? So I am of my personal opinion is not to put a picture on the resume, okay? Nor your age, because age actually does not play a role in our admission decisions, okay? So very good question by the person who asked it, okay? All right, I'm going to proceed here. So this slide is simply just reiterating what I said before. Make sure to take the time to sit with your recommenders, to let them know what it is you want to accomplish, and to remind them to write concrete examples of your potential to succeed in graduate school in their letters of recommendation. And in fact, this is what this slide is trying to convey. When we get letters of recommendation, we get a lot of letters of recommendation that are very generic, but we could always tell which ones are the good ones from the bad ones when we're able to read concrete examples that recommenders cite on their letters. And those are the good letters of recommendation. Those are the ones that we know are more meaningful. So make sure to tell your recommender to see if they could cite 1 or 2 examples about your potential to succeed in graduate school. And again, this is an advice that you can apply to any and all programs that you may be applying around the world. Okay. All right. And of course, ask for more letters than what you need. In the event that one recommender fails to write you a letter of recommendation for whatever reason. So if we require 2 letters of recommendation, or the program that you're applying to requires 2, make sure to ask for 3 letters of recommendations from 3 different recommenders in the event that one fails to submit it, again, for whatever reason. Okay, and make sure to follow up with your recommenders after you meet with them or you email them. You may want to say something to the effect of, thank you, Professor X and Z. It was a pleasure talking with you and explain to you what my goals are. I'll make sure to follow up with you in 2 weeks or 3 weeks time to ensure that you've taken the time to write my letter of recommendation. So feel free to give them a deadline, but do so in a nice way. That way, when you do follow up with them in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you don't feel as awkward following up with them, okay? Because you warned them ahead of time that you would be following up with them in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks, okay? Because this is probably one of the hardest parts of the application, right? Getting letters of recommendation and making sure you do, and making sure that you're not bugging your recommenders too much, okay? For fear that they may not write you a better letter of recommendation, right? So. And transcripts. So we require transcripts from all the schools you've attended, okay? We used to require that all transcripts from international schools or foreign schools be evaluated by a NACES.org member, okay? NACES is a company that vets different transcript evaluation companies, and we require that the evaluation is evaluated by one of those companies. And we're talking about the big companies like WES, WES, IERF, ECE is another big company. There's another company called, oh my God, the name escapes me at the moment, but there's about 4 or 5 that are very big. And those 4 and 5 transcript evaluations are members of NACES, okay? And there are others, but go to the website and you're welcome to have your transcripts evaluated by any of those members listed on the NACES.org website, okay? Now, I do have good news. We actually do no longer need for your transcript to be evaluated. So this slide is a bit outdated, but it is no longer a requirement, okay? But if you decide not to have your transcripts evaluated, that's perfectly fine. But we will need for your transcripts to be sent directly from your foreign institution, from your school, directly to us. It cannot be sent to you and then you forward us that copy to us, because we will know whether or not it was issued to you, okay? So sometimes some foreign universities are not comfortable doing that. They would rather send a transcript to a transcript evaluation. So at that point, you would have to go to a transcript evaluation company. Other foreign universities are perfectly fine by sending us the transcript directly to us via email or through an electronic third party or through postmail. And we're perfectly okay with that, okay? So even though I said that your transcripts have to be evaluated by a NACES approved member, that is actually not the case for the fall 2024 semester, okay? All right, hopefully that's good news. But again, it doesn't hurt to get them evaluated if you wish to do that for whatever reason, okay? Some schools require it, others don't. We used to require it up until last week, okay? Test scores. We do not require test scores. We do not require the GRE or the GMAT for our MBA program. However, you're more than welcome to take it if you're applying to other schools that require it. And if you take the GRE and you score very high marks, you're welcome to send it to us. It will not hurt your application. Again, it will only strengthen your application and improve your chances of being admitted. But again, they're not required for any of our master's program. Okay. But it's a good idea to submit them if, in fact, you have a low GPA or your academic performance is on the low end. You know, having GRE scores and having high GRE scores may help offset that low GPA, okay, if you happen to have one. But again, not required. Lastly, an admission interview. An admission interview is by invitation only. If you are invited, you know, make sure to prepare for it by, you know, preparing some questions and practicing some questions. You could Google some questions that are meant for a job interview, and you can practice those. But I always like to tell students, don't get nervous about the admission interview. Think of it as an opportunity for us to get to know you and for you to know, you know, for you to get to know us as well. So think of it more as an advising session, if you will. But nonetheless, make sure to prepare for it in case a professor decides to ask you a hard question, right? But if they do ask you a hard question, believe it or not, it'll probably be a question related to your academic performance or your academic goals. So think of, you know, again, think of what it is you want to do in the future and how a degree from Mount St. Mary's University specifically will help you achieve those goals. So make sure to reference back to whatever you might have written in your essay. You know, think of the great things that you've done as reflected on your CV and so forth. And just be ready to discuss those one-on-one in person. Okay. And of course, last but not least, make sure to ask intelligent questions. Don't ask questions about, like, you know, when you hope to get a decision back. We can tell you that it'll probably be within 2 to 3 weeks after you do your admission interview. But ask intelligent questions, because the type of questions that you ask also reflect on how prepared you are for the program. All right. All right. And I see more questions. Let me take a break here. Let me open up the chat here. Patricia asked, is there a specific length as to how the CV should be? How many pages? I would say limit your resume or CV to 3 pages at the very max. Don't go beyond that, okay? 1 or 2 pages is ideal. If you need a 3rd page because you've done great things, feel free to do 3 pages, okay? But I always like to recommend 2 pages, or 1 page, of course, you know. But 2 to 3 pages is perfectly fine. Is there a requested level of English? Yes, thank you for reminding me. We do require test scores, so we don't require the GRE, okay, or the GMAT, but we do require English test scores for, you know, from international students. And the minimum score on the TOEFL IBT is 79. You have to score a 79 or higher in order to be considered for admission. We also take the IELTS. In the IELTS, you have to score a 6.5 overall score or higher in order to be considered for admission. We also just started accepting Duolingo. And for the Duolingo exam, you have to score 100 or higher. Okay? Very good, very good. How does the credit transfer work from a Latin American university to an American? Yes. So this is where we might ask you. So we don't require your transcripts to be evaluated by a transcript evaluation company, like I mentioned earlier, right? That is not a requirement. Our faculty should be able to determine what, you know, how your grading system in Latin America translates over to our grading system. If they're having a hard time, they might ask you to get your transcripts evaluated, but hopefully that won't be the case, okay? We understand that many universities in Latin America grade between a 1 to 10 grading system. So a 10 and 9 and an 8 might be considered, for example, a A or an A minus. 8, 7, or 7 or 6 might be considered a B or B minus at the very minimum. So we'll make the best effort possible to make that transfer. And we do accept credits from other universities to transfer to our graduate program as long as they're a B or better. So as long as your marks are between a 7 or a 10, they should be able to transfer. But if we're having a hard time determining that, we might ask you to get your transcripts evaluated. Okay. And keep in mind that if you are already in a graduate program in Latin America or at a university in Latin America, you could transfer some of that credit over to our graduate program as well. So the transfer goes from graduate program to graduate program. And students are welcome to transfer up to 6 units of coursework. Okay, and that's the other issue, units might be different from course to course, and that is why the transcript evaluation becomes very important. Okay, but we'll try to see if we can make it work without the transcript evaluation. Okay, but our school policy states that students are welcome to transfer up to 6 units. If you want to transfer more than 6 units, you're more than welcome to petition. So you will sit down with your faculty advisor, you'll go through your transcripts and see if you could transfer more than 6 units. If your faculty advisor agrees to do that, you would have to fill out an academic petition. Your faculty advisor will have to sign it, and then it goes to the provost, and the provost will have final say. We have seen students transfer up to 12 units, sometimes 18 units. But again, that's a conversation that you will need to have with us and your faculty advisor to determine if we could transfer more than 6 units, okay, from your current graduate program in the university that you may be attending in Latin America. Okay, great question, great question. All right, and I think I'm almost done with my slides here. Yes, I'm not going to talk about tuition and financial aid just because a lot of the things that I have on this PowerPoint don't apply to international students, but do allow me to talk about tuition very briefly. However, tuition at Mount St. Mary's University does vary by program, but all in all, most of our programs charge $1,141 per unit. And I'm going to put that on the chat here. $1,141 USD dollars. Okay. It's a bit different for our healthcare administration program. Our healthcare administration program charges $870 per unit. Okay. Our program in education charges $1,108 per unit. Okay, and all of our other programs, for the most part, for the majority of them, charge 1,141 USD. Now, and our MSM program also charges 1,108. Okay, just like our education program. Now, this per unit rate does not include any scholarships that you may qualify for. Scholarships are merit-based, and I'm happy to say that we will automatically consider all of our international students for a scholarship. There is no separate application that you need to complete. So as we evaluate your application for admission, we will also evaluate your application for a scholarship. If the faculty admission committee awards you a scholarship, we will communicate that to you in your admission letter. Okay. If you get your admission letter and there is no scholarship or there is no mention of one, what do? You cry a little bit, and then you get on your laptop and you write me an email and say, Albert, I didn't get a scholarship. Is there any way possible for you to reconsider or reevaluate my application for a scholarship? And the answer will be yes. We'll be more than happy to reevaluate your application for a second chance to see if there's any funds available for us to award you a scholarship. Okay. We might ask you to write maybe another brief paragraph or two stating the reasons why you think you deserve or merit a scholarship. But we'll let you know once we have that conversation. Okay. And I encourage students to do that no matter where it is that you apply, right? Because keep in mind that the admission process and the scholarship process is run by humans, and humans are subject to human error. And sometimes, a faculty might forget that he or she has funds to award, right? So that's why all the application decisions first go to faculty. Once the faculty make their decisions, it goes to the provost for one final review, just to ensure that the admission decision and the scholarship decision is appropriate. But that being said, we might fail to realize that we do have funds, and it's good when students can email us and ask us to reevaluate them for whatever reason. Okay, I'm going to open up the chat here. I see more questions. Are these scholarships for Colombian students? Yes. So all international students. Okay. So our institutional scholarships, we call them institutional scholarships because they come from our institution. And we do not make a difference between international students and domestic students. If we have an international student with a 4.0 GPA and has done much better academically than our domestic student, we will provide the international student with a higher scholarship amount. Okay. Do you have a program in psychology? We do. I'm gonna write in the chat. I apologize. I did not go over the programs that we offer. But again, like I mentioned earlier, we do offer 12 programs in different areas. And I'm going to provide you all with the URL in where you can glance at the different programs that we offer. But we offer counseling psychology. I'm going to write them down in the page here. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go back to sharing my screen. Give me a second here. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to msmu.edu/graduate. And I'm going to share with you the different programs that we offer. Give me 1 second here. Let me remove this. So these are the programs that we offer. We offer a degree in business administration, although I will say at this very moment, we're not admitting international students to the MBA program, not because we don't want them. Of course we want them. We love international students, but because the MBA program has recently changed the curriculum and has made it more geared towards online. And because of that, we international students cannot meet the minimum residency requirement of 6 units or more to be in person. So we're going to rework the curriculum again, and hopefully we can start admitting international students to the MBA program by fall of 2024. Okay, but at this very moment, we do have that caveat. But all of our other programs, we do admit international students to them. So we have our PsyD, our clinical psychology doctoral program. We have a master's in counseling psychology. We have an MFA in creative writing. We also have an MFA in film, television, and photography. We have a master's of science in healthcare administration. Okay. We have a master's of science in teacher education. And also a master's of arts in humanities, a master's of arts in religious studies. We also have another doctoral program in physical therapy and a master's in nursing. Okay. And this bioethics program is a certificate program. It's not a master's or a doctorate, but it is a certificate level program. Okay. And within each program, you'll have different sub-programs or concentrations that you could pursue within each of those. So I would invite you to go to our website and select and learn more about the programs that might interest you. Of all these programs, I would tell you that our counseling psychology program is the largest. Okay. For our clinical psychology doctoral program, we only enroll 10 students. Our doctor in physical therapy only enrolls 35 students. For all the other programs, we don't have a cap. So we will accept as many students as there are qualified. And counseling psychology is among the biggest ones. Okay. I have another question in the session here. What is the female to male student ratio? Great question. At the graduate level, we admit both men and women. At the undergraduate level, we only admit women, with the exception of our nursing undergraduate program. Okay. So at the graduate level, though, where we admit men and women, the ratio is about 70-30, 30% males, 70% females. Okay. Do we offer housing to students? And the answer is yes. We definitely offer housing to students, particularly to students who are out of state, right? Students who might be living in another state besides California, and to international students. Once you start the process of applying and once you get admitted, we will provide you with information on student housing. Okay. And student housing is much cheaper than living off campus. Now, I will say that most student housing at Mountain Mary's University is reserved for our undergraduate students, but we always make it a point to reserve at least 20 to 30 rooms for our graduate population. Okay, great question, great question. Any other questions I can help answer? Well, that concludes my presentation. Again, I'll be more than happy to share the PowerPoint that I just shared right now with Stefania, so she could then forward it to all of you. You can always reach out to me directly as well. I provided my contact information on the chat. My name is Albert Ramos, and yes, I do speak Spanish. My parents both came from Mexico. So I am first generation. I was born in the United States, but I do know Spanish. My house was a Spanish-speaking household, as many households are here in Los Angeles. In fact, I've written a lot of emails in Spanish to many of our students in Latin America. And the reason why we are hoping to get more students from Latin America is because we're doing a lot of great things in our programs that cater to the Latin American population. So for example, in our counseling psychology program, we have something called the Enlaces program. And the Enlaces program allows students to pursue psychology courses in Spanish and do their thesis in Spanish in order for them to better serve Spanish-speaking clients in the Los Angeles area or in the world. You know, if you do want to come to the United States, get a master's in counseling psychology, and then take those skills back to your country so you can help people with their counseling needs in Spanish, you would have been able to do so here in the United States, writing in Spanish. Okay. In our creative writing program, we have a new certificate program called creative writing. It's called the Latin American Studies and Creative Studies in the Latinx population. Okay, so we're trying to do more and more things that cater to our Spanish-speaking student populations here in Los Angeles and around the world. Okay, so me da gusto que hayan asistido aquí a esta presentación. Okay. Any other questions? I have a few more. Do you offer any help to disabled people? We do. So we do have support services that help students succeed in our programs who may be facing any physical or mental challenges. So the answer is yes. Okay. All right. Do you have clubs or organizations within the university I could join? Yes, we do. So we have a lot of student organizations. I will tell you that for the most part, it is our undergraduate students that partake in them. Our graduate students, because they're adults already and they have their families or they have other commitments or are currently working, they don't participate as much, but the opportunities are there. So you're more than welcome to participate in those student organizations and clubs. Very great question. Okay. Are there internship opportunities during the study period? The answer is yes. Now, internships may or may not be required as part of your program. I'm going through all the programs here listed, and I don't think any of them require one except for our counseling psychology program and our DPT program, okay? But if one is required, we will help you get an internship with one of our partners. If one is not required, you're more than welcome to get an internship. Just make sure to speak to us as an international student. If you happen to be an international student, you will have to do your internship under CPT, which I haven't spoken about, but we do have students on CPT currently doing internships for programs that both require and don't require an internship. Okay, and yes, you could get a job as a student here at Mount St. Mary's University within our campus. That's not an issue. As an international student, you're always welcome to work 20 hours per week to help you pay for your education or for your living expenses. Getting job off campus is a bit more difficult unless it's an internship or somehow related to your job. I mean, to the degree that you're pursuing. If it's related to the degree that you're pursuing and it's an actual internship, then you would do it under CPT. But if you're looking for work because you have economic need, off campus is a bit more difficult to obtain. Just because of the rules and regulations of the U.S. government. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. But email me and I'll be more than happy to clarify that. Okay. Does the university provide some ethical courses? Nowadays, it is difficult maybe for LGBTQIA plus students to feel that the university is a safe place for them. Yes, we do. In fact, we are going to launch pretty soon, maybe next year, a certificate program in DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, and we do have student organizations sponsored both by the university and by students who cater and serve students from the LGBTQIA plus community. Okay, so yes, we're all about inclusion, and we make it a point to make all of our students feel included, regardless of their backgrounds as it relates to diversity, social, economic, background, sexual identification, gender identification, and so forth. Okay, great question. I have another question asking me, how was it to grow up in America as a Mexican born? Well, I wasn't born in Mexico, but I felt very Mexican because I was the firstborn. My parents are both from Mexico, and I can tell you that it was a beautiful experience. um, I can tell you that it's a beautiful experience being born in another country that is not your native country, because you get to learn two worlds, and every time you get to learn two worlds is always better than learning just one. I have a son who's 7 years old. He was born in the US. I try to teach him as much things from Mexico as possible, but you can tell he's much more American than I ever was. But learning more, breathing and living and eating two different worlds is a beautiful experience, and one that I would encourage all of our future generations to partake. So great question, unrelated but great question. Hopefully that answers it. Okay. Any other questions I could help answer? No? And again, I apologize. There's so much to talk about. I know one other thing that international students are very interested about is visas and how that process works. I actually have a PowerPoint dedicated to that. In fact, it's here. I decided not to present on this, okay? Just because, it's a whole different topic, but I'll be more than happy to share this PowerPoint with all of you if you email me. Just email me and say, Albert, can you send me your PowerPoint on visas and whatnot? And I provide some sort of a process on how to do all that, okay? And maybe, Stefania can invite me back and I'll probably present on that as well, okay? Are we strict with knowing English? Do you offer some support to people that are not yet good at it? So we do expect for your level of English to be up to par for you to be able to succeed in the program. Our faculty will work with you. We understand that sometimes going through the program as a non-native English speaker can be difficult. Believe me, I went through it when I was a child, right? Because my parents didn't know English. I didn't know English up until maybe third grade. So I understand that. And we will work with you, but the expectation is that you at least have the minimum skills to be able to succeed in the graduate program. Hence, we require you to score a 79 in that TOEFL IBT or a 6.5 on the IELTS. We feel that those scores will prepare you and will allow you to succeed in the graduate program, okay? And we will offer you some support. We do offer support to all of our students academically, regardless of the program or regardless of the fact of whether or not they're domestic or international. That is true. But we would want you to have the English skills to be ready to succeed in the program. Okay. I don't know if that answers your question, but yes, we are strict in that sense, but we will definitely help you as much as we can to help you succeed. All right. We want to see all of our students, graduate. Okay. Great question. Great question.
Okay, I would like to remind you that there is still time to ask your questions, so don't hesitate. And in the meantime, thanks again, Albert, to be with us today. And thanks everyone to have joined us today, to have been so curious and responsive. We received a lot of questions and I'm really happy about it. So I hope you learned a lot about Mount St. Mary University and that this webinar helped you to make the decision to study in the City of Angels. If you are interested in receive our certificate of attendance, you can click in the link that I'm sending right now. So here you are. And we will also share the recording with you in the following days. So please check your email. And so I would at this point ask to Albert if you want to leave a message before say goodbye to our students.
Yeah, no, I think I've said everything I need to say, but the last thing I would say is, we all have different backgrounds, different different levels of academic performance and whatnot. And as you go through your search of graduate programs, apply to as many programs as you can. Even apply to the ones that you think you might not get into. I had a good friend once tell me, don't tell yourself no, let us tell you no. So apply. And And hopefully we, Mount St. Mary's University, will have, the pleasure of reviewing your application soon. And like I mentioned before, with our school specifically, we have changed the application requirements. Our website should be updated, by later tonight. So I would encourage you all to, if you do want to apply to Mount St. Mary's University, visit those sites and just submit whatever it is that we require. Okay.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you also for this piece of advice. I think it's really important to hear these kind of things for students and especially for international students. So I don't see more questions. So I think that we are done. And thanks again, everyone. I hope to see you again in the next webinar. And it was a pleasure for me, really.
My pleasure too, Stefania. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.